So, from what we know and what you think, what really happened on the 7th of November 1974?
What happened on this is, I would say, is 99% what happened is that it was the nanny's night off, Sandra Rivett. And Sandra Rivett is supposed to be out of the house, going off to the cinema or whatever. And Lord Lucan goes down into the... let's start at the beginning.
Richard John Bingham was born on the 18th of December 1934. He was the eldest son of the 6th Earl of Lucan. After completing his national service in 1955, he worked briefly for a firm of merchant bankers in London. He then left this occupation to become a professional gambler.
Lord Lucan was the 7th Earl of Lucan, and I think he picked up the title at about the age of 30. And he was considered to be quite a catch. Good-looking guy, moderately wealthy. He would be worth about 6 million now. Went to Eton, and I think he might have had a spell in the army, and had been considered for the role of James Bond, amongst other things. So his whole life is looking pretty rosy. And he's the 7th Earl. He'd got the most famous Lucan before him was with one of the biggest fiascos in British military history. And this was the Lucan who had presided over the charge of the Light Brigade. Anyway, who would have thought that the 7th Earl, our Lord Lucan, would blow him out of the water with what he would do.
One of Richard Bingham's closest friends was William Shan Kidd, who was married to Christina Duncan. In 1963, Christina introduced Richard to her sister, Veronica Mary Duncan, and in November later that year, the two married. Shortly after their marriage, the 6th Earl of Lucan died, and Richard John Bingham succeeded to the earldom, becoming Lord Lucan.
So Lucan gets married at about the age of 30 to Veronica. Veronica was, she was a publican's daughter from down in Hampshire. And seemingly it must have been fantastic because she's become a countess and they've got these 3 beautiful children, son and 2 daughters. And it all seems okay.
In July 1964, the couple moved into 46 Lower Belgrave Street, a 5-storey Victorian terraced house that would become their family home. Lord and Lady Lucan had 3 children: Francis, born in October 1964, George Charles, born in September 1967, and Camilla, born in June 1970. But friction soon developed between the couple, and on the 7th of January 1973, Lord Lucan moved out of the family home and into 5 Eaton Row, before later moving into 72A Elizabeth Street.
But he is leading this utterly vacuous life as a gambler. And this is how, towards the end, he was spending his days at his friend's club, the Claremont Club, where he managed to fritter away most of his fortune, if not all of his fortune. So this is Lucan's position. Every day he's getting up pretty late. He goes to the Claremont Club for lunch, smoked salmon and lamb cutlets every single day. And then in the evening he's got a bit of gambling, and probably has supper there too, and then he rocks back home at about 2 o'clock.
According to his friends, Lord Lucan was a good father who was devoted to his children, but on the 23rd of March 1973, whilst the children were in Green Park with their nanny, he seized them and handed her a court order. On the 11th of June 1973, there was a custody hearing at the High Court. Lady Lucan won the custody battle for the children, and Lord Lucan was given access every other weekend and for half of the school holidays. The situation of the custody of his children became the focus of Lord Lucan's life. He was known to sit and watch the movements of his wife and children at 46 Lower Belgrave Street, whilst also hiring private detectives. He even taped telephone conversations between himself and Veronica in an attempt to prove to the court that she had developed psychiatric problems.
He comes up with this brilliant plan, which is that he is going to murder his wife, drop her off in the channel, dump her there, and then come back and claim that she's done a runner, which she had done before. I don't know where she is. And so that is the plan. And then he will, pick up the insurance, and he will have this blissful life with his 3 children, is what he is probably imagining.
In November 1974, Lady Lucan employed Sandra Rivett as a new nanny for the 3 children. She had a room on the top floor of 46 Lower Belgrave Street next to the children's bedrooms. She had a good relationship with Lady Lucan and the children. On Thursday the 7th of November 1974, Lady Lucan was watching television on the 2nd floor of 46 Lower Belgrave Street. She was with her daughter Frances and Sandra Rivett. The other 2 children were in bed. Thursdays were usually Sandra's night off, but she had not gone out that evening.
So it's the night off. He has borrowed a friend's car, Michael Steep's car, and this is going to be the getaway car. He has prepared 2 weapons. These are pieces of lead piping, about so big, which he's wrapped with white tape. And these are obviously to hit Veronica over the head with. He's also got a US postal sort of mailbag. It's a kind of canvas bag, like a big IKEA bag. And so what he does on the night is the children are upstairs. He lets himself in, goes down into the basement kitchen, takes out the light bulb, and he waits there with his piece of lead piping for his wife to come down. And unfortunately for Lucan, what he didn't know was that Sandra Rivett, the nanny, had changed her night off, and she was in fact in. At around 8:55 p.m, Sandra asked Lady Lucan whether she would like a cup of tea. It was usually Lady Lucan's routine to make a cup of tea at that time in the evening, but on this occasion she let Sandra go. Sandra collected some dirty cups and saucers and went down into the basement where the kitchen was. Regrettably for Sandra, she, in the sort of dark, bore quite a resemblance to the Countess of Lucan. They were both quite petite women. So she comes downstairs into this dark basement with the light bulb out, and Lord Lucan sees this petite woman coming down the stairs, attacks her, 4 or 5 whacks to the head with a piece of lead piping. And then you can only imagine his horror when he realises he's got the wrong woman.
I go no more. I'm afraid to think of what I've done. Look on again, I dare not.
And then about 15 minutes later, the Countess of Lucan is coming down the stairs and saying, Sandra, are you all right? And Lucan, he's only got one option. He comes out, gets her on the stairs, and attacks Veronica on the stairs. Hits her a few times, but not a good solid blow, but enough to draw quite a lot of blood. And then she knees him in the groin. And so that's him out for a little bit. Veronica sees her chance and runs out of the house in Belgravia, runs down the street screaming murder, 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 and goes into the Plumber's Arms, the nearest pub, screaming murder, and then all hell breaks loose. And you can only imagine what Lucan is thinking. He's washing his hands, thinking, what the hell am I going to do now? Because he's been planning on dumping Veronica in the channel, see ya, and then he comes back. Oh, I don't know where my wife's gone. Oh, well, kids, let's just go to school. And, but now he's got this extraordinary thing. In 3 minutes flat, he's got to dream up a new plan. He's got to get out. And so he washes his hands. Here's Veronica running off down the street. And all he knows for sure is he's got to get the hell out.
What hands are his? They pluck out mine eyes. Will all great Neptune's ocean wash the blood clean from my hand? No.
So then he gets into his car and we'll deal with the facts that we know about, and which he dumps in New Haven, which is a port, and is found about 3 days later, covered in Sandra's blood, his prints, he's all over it. And at the scene, he left the murder weapon. The piece of lead piping with the white tape is found at his house in Belgravia. Unfortunately for him, the car, when he dumped it in New Haven, he did not do he bodged it. He did not do a proper job of cleaning up. I mean, he couldn't clean off all the prints and the blood, that was going to be impossible. But he left the backup bludgeon in the back of the car, in the boot. This piece of lead piping with the white tape. Now, Lucan and his family and all the rest, claim that he was just happened to be in the wrong place in the wrong time, and it was somebody else, and he just happened to see this somebody else and went in, and just most awful mishap. But with that piece of lead piping in the boot of the car means he's in it up to his neck. If he's doing this, how can you explain that away, old son, that you've got an identical murder weapon in the back of your car? There's no way that it could be there if he just happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time. So this was the smoking gun, and I reckon that once he realised this blunder, there was no way that he was going to hold his hand up and say and hand himself over to the cops.
So you're at New Haven, you're at the show. Why are you not just motivated to throw yourself into the sea?
Well, that's an interesting one. I mean, you might do. It's certainly the family and friends. For all of them, it is much more convenient if Lucan killed himself and at the same time got rid of his body, which is kind of unusual. I mean, plenty of people kill themselves, but, normally you're so distraught you just kill yourself. You don't think, and I'm going to prepare the groundwork for the most remarkable mystery by doing away with my body as well. I mean, it's possible that, and that's what his family and friends would have liked to believe, I would contend the I would contend the exact opposite. Lucan's a gambler. In particular, he liked playing backgammon. And that is, with backgammon, anything can happen. You don't know how it's going to happen, but you keep on playing till the last roll of the dice, because you keep on hoping something's going to get better.
A leaked Scotland Yard intelligence report has revealed that the police were still looking for Lord Lucan in 2002. Why then would the police be looking for a dead man? Could it be that they knew he was still alive? There is evidence that Lucan made it to Africa, where he lived under the alias of John Crawford in Mozambique. Where he went after this remains a mystery. There may be those who scoff at the last remaining Lucanites, those who keep the case alive, keep asking questions, keep looking for Lucan. But with no body or evidence of death having ever been found, surely the burden of proof lies at the doors of those who contend that he is dead, as opposed to those who say he lives and breathes today, on the 18th of December 2024, his 90th birthday.